Hello and welcome to X and Y Gaming, Casually Competitive. And in today's episode, I'm going to take a more in-depth look at the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon deck I have built and how it's been affected by Master Rule 4. So first off, the thing to note is with the new ban list, there has been a modification because you want to see Skyrus all the fucking time. You need this card. It's pretty much mandatory if you want to get your pluses, if you will. Now, terraforming has been semi-limited, so to combat this, I've bumped up Pot of Desires from 2 to 3. Now, obviously, you're not going to use all 3 of this, because it's not a 60-card deck. I don't run Grass is Greener. I'm trying to go for as much consistency as possible. So basically, there's 3, so you're almost guaranteed at least 1, and then, you just gotta pray to the card game gods it doesn't get fucking Ash Blossomed. But, you gotta roll those dice. So, Terraforming's at 2, so Desires is at 3, and so the usual combos I have for this is, or rather the main issue is, because of the Master Rule 4 and Link Summoning, clearly, I can't just sit here and just spam the fucking board with dragons. Like, I can't do that anymore. I can't sit here and throw 5 dragons on the field in one fell swoop. So, the way around this that I have found, and unfortunately it does require a bit of setup over a couple of turns, but once you get it going, it's pretty good. So, for general pendulum summoning, obviously, for Lanfarinkus or Traffic Ghost, which will let you pendulum summon 2 to 3 monsters at one time. And, pendulum summoning more than just 1 monster at a time is obviously going to be useful. But those weren't around when I was building this deck in terms of bringing it into the new age, so to speak. So basically my way around that was you would summon 1, just know that Skyrus is over here. And also, well, you'll be able to see it for the most part. Bless you, baby. Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum is on the right. Obviously, he's an 8, even in the left. But I am way too goddamn anal attentive for that. I can't do it. I can't have an 8 in the left and a lower on the right. I can't. It's fucking heresy, and you're going to hell. So, definitely put your 4s and your 8s in the right zones. It makes all the difference in the world. And if I was editing videos, there'd be an asterisk on screen that makes it would say it makes no fucking difference. But no editing, no budget, no fucks given. So here's a fucking great thing you can do. You get a monster out, you Sky Iris it off while you have Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum. And I can guarantee you this is 100% exactly why he was introduced at the last second. They're like, oh man, shit's about to get heavy. We gotta get some contention here. So it's dead. The Sky Iris effect goes off and you get an Odd Eyes card. So I don't fucking know, whatever. Let's, Odd Eyes Phantom. Why not? And then, Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum effects activates and lets you get back a Odd Eyes from your hand deck or graveyard. So, you get 1 in your hand, and then you get 1 that's dead. Now, yeah, that's a main deck monster, so that's not as probably as good an example. But you can Odd Eyes Vortex, and either the turn you have them out, or maybe the next turn. Usually what I do is wait till the next turn, just so I make sure I can still get some plays off. So you'd Sky Iris, destroy, search for something different, and then use Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum to bring back Vortex. Now, there are multiple ways around specifically having to use Odd Eyes Pendulum, Arc Pendulum, and that's the very clearly obvious choice of running 3 Return of the Dragon Lords. So you would sit there, you have your Odd Eyes Vortex out, let's give him some fodder. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, now we'll give him 1 more. He can last for a couple turns. So you do that, and then you go Sky Iris, pop him off, alright? Search for literally any Odd Eyes card you want. It does not matter. There is 1 Foolish Burial in this deck that I love sending him. Here recently, especially with Chaos Max. Fucking, oh god. If you're gonna run Blue Eyes, just run Blue Eyes. Don't run Chaos Max. But I do love Odd Eyes Gravity Dragon specifically because his fucking Odd Eyes Advent lets you pull him out of the graveyard. I don't know why. I don't question it. I just think it's awesome. So, one of my absolute favorite plays of all time. I am off on a goddamn tangent right now. Odd Eyes Fusion, right? Odd Eyes Fusion. These guys, from your hand to the graveyard, the Tuner and the Ritual, right? They go to the graveyard, whatever. You get an Odd Eyes. Okay, alright, so then you come in behind yourself, right? Sky Iris, pop them off, okay? Get yourself a nice little, look at a 1, you know? Get a nice scale of 1 to 8. Beautiful. Get that to your hand. Bring Odd Eyes Phantom or honestly any Odd Eyes card honestly from your deck. It doesn't matter. With his effect, right? So you've destroyed an Odd Eyes and you've replaced an Odd Eyes. So here's where the plus comes in. Obviously that. And now you think, well, why would you not want to get your fucking Vortex? Well, there you go. It's why you run 3. You know what I'm saying? Just bring it back that way. And there's so many ways to manipulate your monsters on the board to give yourself a better advantage. So I mean, yeah, an Odd Eyes Vortex anywhere is generally good, but I feel like they do so much better in the main zones. Probably just me. And then you can always sit there and if you open a turn with at least, even just these 2, and you got that in your hand, right? You could sit there, trade them off. Oh, that's a Linkuriboh. Land Pharynchus. He's an extra deck monster now. And then you'd be able to Pendulum Summon once per turn, right? So there you go. There's your Pendulum Summon. And then come up behind and return the Dragon Lords. And also, just go without saying, if you're actually going to use Land Pharynchus or hell, even Electro, what is it? Heavy Metal Foes Electromite? Oh, fucking mouthful. Definitely make sure to pay very close attention to where you're putting your monsters. If you're like, oh, I gotta get my Vortex back and I put them here, and now I can Pendulum Summon. It's like, well, fucking great. You fucked yourself. What is it? The DJ, you played yourself? Congratulations, you played yourself. Of course, if you have Traffic Ghost, you wouldn't want him in anywhere near that. Keep him over here. You know what I'm saying? Just be mindful of where you're placing them. I don't know. There's just, whenever they introduced the extra deck monster zones, I had to figure out a way to play around that. And like I said, luckily, Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum was released right at the cusp of MR4. Like, he was one of the first few cards to be printed with the whole GY instead of graveyard printing. They were, how do I say it? They were printed with extra deck monster zones in mind. Like, you could buy the legendary structure deck and you can use Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum in Master Rule 3. Like, that's totally acceptable. He is not bound to Master Rule 4. However, you cannot go and get the Legendary Dragon Collection deck and say get the Cyber Dragon deck, which, funnily enough, I got it right here. Holy shit. Yeah, fuck it. Fuck it. Just throw him down there. I'll get him in a second. It comes with this guy, and everyone who's anyone knows what this fucking card is. And in case you're a nobody, like me, then here it is. Chimera Tech what is it? Mega Fleet Dragon. This card's a bitch. Alright? I'm gonna pretend. Here's a fucking Cyber Dragon. Here's an extra deck monster. We'll just pretend this is it. Who cares? Here's a Cyber Dragon. Here's an extra deck monster. Here's an extra deck monster. And they all go bye-bye. And you just fucking take it over. And the hilarious thing about this is even if Cyber Dragon's on your opponent's side of the field, you can still scoop and fucking put him down. It's fucking stupid. But the point I'm trying to get at here is, yes, you can retroactively use Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum, even in Master Rule 3. You can't do that with Mega Fleet. You fucking can't. He is absolutely 100% dependent on being played in MR4. Like it is. So one thing you got to keep an eye on when you're I don't know, trying to use new cards in the old fashion. Which I don't know why you'd want to. I guess if you're really hungering for being able to slap 5 dragons on the field, which I'll be honest, I miss it. It's one of the best fucking great things ever. But if you're really wanting to do old school dueling, you've got to be careful of what kind of cards you try to bring to the past. If that's one way to say it, because he's not gonna fucking work. But in terms of adapting a pendulum deck that is, again, it's literally made to just slap 5 dragons on the field from your extra deck in one go. You're like, oh, I got nothing. And then somehow you build a scale and you turn that fucking nothing into 5 monsters. Then, of course, you go in and you're like, oh, well, he's a fucking Xyz now. Here's a fucking fusion because I can. He's just there. He looks good. But you can't really do that anymore. You got to find a workaround. And so that is basically what I've done here is I adapted the deck to the new summoning mechanic. And is it consistent? Probably not. I mean, I try, you definitely want to see this card all the time. So obviously you're running it at 3. Maybe if I had another one of him, I might run him. But I don't know. Like if you have a pendulum out and he's obviously the target of attack, then yeah, he's great. You throw him down, free summon, stop the battle. It's great. It's fucking great. And then somehow he doesn't die. You go into the next turn and you get a vortex for him. Like, there's place for that. Usually all I do is I just fucking Sky Iris, and then Odd Eyes arc his effect him onto the field from there. And honestly, yeah, Contact Fusion, oh, it's so good. And yeah, you can use the Pendulum Zone Odd Eyes too. It's like great. But really my favorite play because that he exists, specifically because he is a Performapal Odd Eyes monster. And because he's a Performapal monster, I am actually able to get this thing out. This thing's fucking hilarious. It's not even a dragon. Like, ugh. But my god, look at him. He's got a face that screams, I will fucking murder you if you look at me wrong. And I bet you didn't even have to look at him wrong. He probably just sneezed. Like, you're a fucking mile away and you sneezed. The next thing you know, this thing's busting down your door to shoot you up. Like, god damn, he's fucking savage as fuck. And his effect's pretty good too. 200 points of damage for every card on the field, which really doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're pulling this out late or in game, that's probably more than enough. And then on top of that, you can destroy an opponent's monster and deal damage to them equal to its original attack. That's field burn, spot removal, and burn damage on top of it. It's fucking amazing. I'd run more if it wasn't such a, I don't know, not dragon, I guess, best way for me to say that. It's not an Odd Eyes monster. I don't get to revive off of him. Like I said, he's just a late to game finishing move. Honestly, I'm noticing more and more that Odd Eyes Gravity Dragon is... I mean, it's a ritual. If you don't build your deck around ritual summoning, then the actual ritual summon is going to be even harder to pull off. And then even if you do build your deck around ritual summoning, and then you don't get the ritual summon off, well then great. Now you have fucking nothing to show for it and a bunch of shit monsters that don't do anything but search and pull off ritual summons. Those things aren't winning you the game. It's the fucking ritual monster you summon that wins the game. And I will say, obviously I'm a budget player. Yes, there are most definitely much better builds you can do for Odd Eyes. I mean, Supreme King, the fucking gates, and the infinity, whatever, fuck. Pendulum Magicians, goddamn, there's so much. I'm just gonna throw those down there so they can be with the rest of their brethren. There's so much you can do better, objectively. But again, I'm a budget player, so I try to make do with what I can. And Odd Eyes Gravity Dragon actually comes in clutch a few times, most specifically against, really troublesome back row or Dark Magician decks. anything that just spams effects left and right, which is pretty much everything. I mean, I have a replay video, probably 1 or 2 videos ahead of this one. But my God, he is come in very handy sometimes. You know, take care of problem back row, especially because when he hits the field, they can't activate anything in response. So it's pretty great, especially when you do it in person. They'd be like, oh, what does that do? It's like, oh, it sends all your back row to your hand, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. Which, you know, it's a lot nicer ways to say that, but it's pretty fucking funny because you literally just hand them the card, they read that, and they read the exact phrasing of it, which is essentially, this sends back row to your hand, you can't do shit. So fucking, it's great. And then, you know, burn damage 500 for every effect they try to do. That will definitely slow someone down. But yeah, I mean, the whole deck, as soon as Master Rule 4 was introduced, and, you know, one of your fucking best Link monsters was a Decode Talker, which, I don't know. I would much sooner give up any 2 monsters than I would an oddly specific 3 effect monsters. And even then, any 3 monsters for Traffic Ghost, it's just not that great. Obviously, if you can bring back 3 monsters really quickly, then you know, yes, go for it. But I don't know, 9 times out of 10, I would just rather make Lanferinkus. It's the safer bet. Now for cards, when I find myself in an issue where, like, that's a dead card, I can't do anything with it, or, you know, I've already gone through a couple of Sky Irises, and even though Terraforming is at 2, it can still be a Garnet. So, I mean, hell, even Desires me a Garnet. You don't want to fucking... You have 11 cards in your deck. You can't activate that shit. So, the way I got around that is... obviously not him, but I do use Linkuriboh for the Nightmares. Specifically so I can at least have a chance to cycle a card. But 9 times out of 10, if a card becomes a dead draw, I just make a Nightmare. Discard it. At least... you know, get some use out of it. And then these, unfortunately, just kind of sit there. But, I mean, you know, that would be a much easier way to get out Traffic Ghost, at least. You just link climb from 2 to 3, and then Pendulum summon 3 new monsters. But, yeah. Basically, it all kind of just... oh, that's the extra deck. Wow. I mean, it just kind of boils down to, you know, adapting to your surroundings and making the most of what you have. So... you know, Sky Iris, you get a thing out, you pop it, and then you bring it back. Frees up your zone for a new one, and you just basically rinse and repeat. Again, it's not the most consistent, and you most definitely won't win any tournaments with this, but it's still hella fun to play, and I will forever stand by the fact that the best Odd Eyes build is pure Odd Eyes. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Dragons, it's a fucking... they're all dragons. You got your Ritual Dragon. You got your Fusion Dragon. Oh, shit. You got your Fusion Dragon, your Xyz Dragon, your Synchro Dragon. Just, god damn, why would you not want to use any of these? And the best part is, there's so much versatility in what I have in the extra deck. Like, you get him out through, you know, whatever, fucking... Odd Eyes Arc or whatever, or his effect. I swear to God, if you tribute 2 monsters for this thing, just scoop. Noble Dragon, right? He's in the grave, you discard him. Or Odd Eyes Fusion, doesn't matter how. Fucking Foolish Burial, he's dead, who cares? Alright, uses his effect. He's an Odd Eyes, -3. 8 -3 is whatever, doesn't matter. It's 5, just for the record. So everyone knows. 8 -3 is 5. But 5 + 3 is 8, so it doesn't matter. There's your 8, and you can go straight into something like Supreme King Dragon Clearwing. Just fucking nuke the board. Well, your opponent's board anyways. And then anything that doesn't get nuked, you attack it and deal damage to them based on its attack, and then destroy it outright anyway. Oh shit. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Thank God I have 2. Well, alternatives to Supreme King Dragon Clearwing. And this is one of my favorite, and it should obviously go without saying. Because it's an 8, it requires a Pendulum. The whole deck is Pendulums. Is the whole deck pendulums? Wait. I mean, obviously, besides, I guess, the extra deck monsters. Yeah, wow, I really... Okay, well, he's not a pendulum, but, you know, who needs a ritual pendulum monster? Come on. I mean, it's just the versatility of what you can pull off with this, despite the fact that, yes, it's a budget deck, yes, it's not that good, and yes, you will not probably win tournaments with this. If you could, I mean, fucking, you know, if you take this to a tournament and you win, show me some love, alright? Oh, also, Rip Supreme King Dragon, whatever his fucking Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Like, God, it's fucking long-ass names. But yeah, apparently he's part of some FTK or whatever, which, yeah, I get it. That's unfortunate that the abusers get him off, unfortunately. Before he was limited, or banned, well, yeah, he's banned, you can't use any, limited is 1. Before that, I ran 3, which is hilarious, because I didn't use him as part of an FTK, I just used him as a contingency for some stupid-ass boss monster that I couldn't get over with the traditional Odd Eyes, and the fact that he was stupid easy to make, to be like, oh, well, here's 2 fucking dragons, right? Like, literally, he could be even 2 of this guy, like, it didn't matter. Like, it's just fucking, alright, there they're gone, and you drop it, and it does this shit, and it's just fucking amazing. But, they're pretty much gone through the main gist of it, and it's really not that complicated. It's pretty much 2 to 3 card combo, fucking pop, search, revive. You know, like it's very straightforward. I love it. Again, it was my only way to work around the Master Rule 4 extra deck mechanic, and it works out for the most part. You know, and again, you'll see that in the replays, but that's pretty much all I got for right now. This is an Odd Eyes deck because I love dragons. I love that. I love them. All right, they're fucking dragons. Like, what do you? He's not a dragon, but he's got dragon in his name. That's all you need. Like, what do you fucking want? Dragons, they're amazing. They're half monster, half spell. That's some crazy coke-baked shit right there. I don't know what to tell you. They're fucking amazing. They do everything. They do the fusions. They do the links. They do the Igzies and the synchros. It's beautiful. It's very beautiful. That's all I got. You know what? I'm hungry, so bye.